I can speak for a second. That showed up. That came through. Nope. Sorry, guys. We are figuring our life out. It is a holiday weekend for some of us. Not Tom, so he doesn't have an excuse here. But he will shake his head, and we will continue to fight with technology.
I feel like that might now be working.
That is correct. I was able to hear you.
Huzzah! Look at that. Basic technology now functioning. It's
Love
incredible. It. So, hello. Now we've got that sorted. Welcome to the 11th ID update.
11th ID update where we still can't get it right.
This is it. One month. 1 month we will. 1 month, I promise. But yes, welcome to the November ID update, the second to last show of the year. That's right, a whole year of this.
A whole year of this, and I've already decided to get in the Christmas spirit with my crappy, ugly Christmas sweater.
Well, that is what Christmas jumpers are supposed to be. I had this discussion with someone the other day when they said, "Oh, I just wish there was one that was stylish and would fit my look." And I went,
No.
You're missing the point of a Christmas jumper entirely.
Go to the Gap.
This is it. It's I've been having lots on so far in November, but it's a bit too warm tonight, so I've gone without. Instead, I am sporting this marvelous Instructional Design Wizard T-shirt.
I dig it.
Put together by a good friend of the channel, Phil Lord David, that we give away to our ID Wizard patrons as well. So there's a couple of people out there with this lovely T-shirt. My mock-ups finally arrived like months after the first ones went out to people, and it is much more blue than I thought.
Yeah, I know that I'm gonna regret this because it's also really warm up here. So
that's it. That's the only challenge. But yes, so if you're here, I'm expecting a quiet one, if I'm honest, because obviously for you guys over in the States, it's just been a big holiday, as you were saying.
Yes, we're all shopping or hungover or in a coma,
beating each other to death for a new TV. That's certainly that happened here. It's quite bizarre.
Yeah, I don't want to.
No, let's not dive into that too deeply. So do you know what? Yes. Let's get the show started. Let's roll that intro. There's only one place for the breaking news in the world of instructional design. The ID Update with Tom and Joe. All the news you never knew you never needed. Only on IDT.
I look at our little characters and I see that your face has very much changed from because you've got more, and mine has not at all, because it doesn't grow any further. It just ends here.
This is it. Consistency from you and laziness from me.
I wish, man, that's the beauty about laziness, because when it comes to like beards, the lazier you are, the better the better off you are. Unless you suck like me, and it just curls in and starts to poke your face and doesn't go anywhere.
Oh dear.
Sad. Anyway,
right, let's dive straight in. It's been a month, so before we dive into everything we've got to talk about, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking a surprise. Well, it's a surprise to me. So Left Hand's been my jam for a little while. I took over their brewery, and they put out, so every year they put out something called the Milk Box. They are known for their milk stouts. Their milk stout on nitro. That is the most popular thing that they put nitros on the map. And they put a milk box where they basically take 4 variations of it. So this one's just a double milk stout. I have no clue what that means. What I do know is that it's 10.5% alcohol, which I was not planning on. So we're gonna get lit. So I'm gonna open this and pour this out, and then what do you got going on?
Actually, I've got a couple lined up. I've got lots of small beers at the minute, which was a bit unusual. But I'm gonna start with a stout. Actually, the same. I'm gonna start with a 3-bean stout.
3-bean stout?
Yeah.
Like vanilla bean, coffee bean.
we've got cacao, vanilla, and tonka beans in a stout.
Okay. All right.
And it's from, what have we got? It's an imperial stout, which usually means it's pretty strong, but it's only a little 330 can, so I'm not expecting too much here. But weirdly,
This is a bottle.
I have got no percentage on it that I can find.
Uh-oh.
I am, however, seeing that a 330 ml can is 4 units, so it's probably quite high.
All right, so 3-bean stout. What do we know about this? Lervig?
That sounds right. Yep.
12.
Oh, there we
That is
go.
a 12 ABV. So off we go.
And it is like pouring treacle into a cup. It's always good when you can turn a beer can upside down, shake it, and the liquid does just fall out and hit the glass.
Nice. Oh man, it's that is some beefy foam though.
That's
That's when you know
nice.
it's good.
Oh, marvellous. Well, those who are here, because there are some people here, huzzah! I was expecting a quiet one, so you're very welcome. Shout out if you're joining us with a beverage, even if it's not, it doesn't have to be booze. We should always point that out. All are welcome.
Yes.
But yes, cheers to the month of November. Now
Cheers
it's
to
pretty
the
much
end
dead.
of the month of November.
Indeed.
I've gotta do that. Man, that's got some meat on its bones. Wowza.
Sure.
Okay.
Ooh.
Uh-oh, you got a hint of something at the end?
It's really gradual. You get this big kind of heavy stout and tonka taste up the front, and I thought that would be where you'd get like the cacao, because that's usually such a sharp flavour it cuts through. But no, it's quite rich and silky with the tonka, and then right at the end you just get that little bit of bitterness, and then a little bit of sweetness as an aftertaste from the vanilla. That is
nice. Wow, that sounds great.
Lovely.
That
and
sounds
dangerous
fantastic.
at that higher percentage, to be honest.
Dangerous is very true. I got a basically Christmas in a bottle yesterday. It's a Belgian old style ale, but cinnamon, nutmeg, all the things. It's exactly what you kind of want out of those with that nice hit of bourbon. Oh, it's fantastic. It was real good, real good. I was tempted to bring that one up, but I think the wife would kill me. I only have one bottle left. So
one of those to be shared, right?
One of those to be shared. So we're talking. I said I was going to talk. We were talking about this before.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about. I'm just going to kick this off. We've got like a spicy thing that's going to take pretty much the entire thing. But this is kind of fun. We're talking about screen presence because I'm used to us kind of like our heads being kind of about the same size on the screen, and this time for some random reason mine's like way bigger, and I don't know why. I'm even back. Like I can be back, but I'm sitting where I normally sit. But I was telling Tom that it's actually kind of a debate thing, like when we have political debates, that it's actually a tactic and it's actually a complaint. So if, well, whatever, we got red and blue going on right now as far as our outfits. So if I'm playing Republican over here, and my head is like very much bigger and I'm, like the top of my head is even taller on the screen, that you will start seeing complaints from the other side saying it's like, oh, he had a much more commanding presence. You have manufactured the screen to give this candidate a much more, kind of assertive, authoritative presence by simply just making him bigger. It's a wild, annoying thing. And I think there's some validity to it. It's very much a mental thing. But because normally you don't have like the surrounding. It's just this and a blue screen. You have a blue screen, so all you see are heads. But yeah, it's also the same with height. I remember we had that. We had some of those issues. I want to say Al Gore and then GW. I think GW was like real short. Null was a lot taller, so they had to like prop them up so they were at least the same height. Because again, it was a mental thing of. This short guy absolutely cannot run this country. So no, it's a wild thing. It's actually kind of funny. It's the reason that I hate talking heads. Like I'll segue this into like L&D stuff.
Hmm.
We're making a lot of videos, and I hate talking head videos. I despise them with a passion. Of here's my head in the corner, and then I'm gonna have stuff around
Oh,
that
yeah.
happen
Mm.
because it just looks dorky. Because it's a much smaller head. Like there's no way the camera has shrunk you down that small. So I'm kind of matching the psychology here. I'm like,
Hmm.
maybe that's why I hate talking heads. It's hard to take somebody seriously when they're this big.
Yeah. This is very true. This is very, very true. No, it's
Mm.
funny when you say about talking, because I quite like a traditional talking head video where it's just them on screen talking to the camera, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. This
Um,
is fine.
yeah, this is it. But yeah, I agree. Do you know what? And I think the trouble is that it's a classic example of we've taken a format that works really well for something else. So, for instance, video game streaming. Because quite
Yeah,
frankly, no one gives a crap what the gamer looks like. They're there for the experience and the chat and all this kind of thing. And
sometimes
increasingly, I hear that it's like, oh, we want to recapture that kind of excitement of being on a stream, but at work. It's like, well,
I
you
think it really depends on the
can't.
game. I have to fight back a little bit. It
Oh,
depends on
go
the
for
game.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
watching a few people who are going through Final Fantasy 14 for the first time, and it is like a
Ah,
really mind-blowing, emotional. Like I want to watch their face when things happen. I know what they're about to go through.
yeah,
I want to see them lose their minds. I want to. So sometimes there's value in it. I don't
I would
give
agree.
two
Yeah,
shits if it's like the PvP stuff. I don't care if you're playing. I don't want to see your face playing a Halo because you're gonna be mad and angry. Um,
that's
there's
it.
no emotional reaction, but if you're playing a story-based game, I'm all in for the emotional reaction.
Yeah, do you know what? I hadn't really thought about that, especially with something like Final Fantasy. It is
Mhm.
I would almost say that's kind of like watching a reaction video on YouTube rather than
Yeah,
watching a game stream in some ways, isn't it? It's
yeah,
that's
that's a very that's I think my one exception to that rule.
yeah. No, I'd agree. Yeah, I think that's quite a good idea.
But like, I don't care about like I don't want to see your face watching Animal Crossing. I don't care.
Quite
I don't
frankly,
care watching Animal Crossing.
just don't stream Animal Crossing. Yeah, that's a terrible thing
Just
to
don't
do.
stream Animal Crossing.
You're a bad person if you do that. I'm afraid, a
It is
bad
the it is the
person.
it is
Uh,
the epitome of what we did in 2020, which was do nothing but feel accomplished anyway.
it is funny. It struck me as what was the game we used to have? Well, it was a game, I guess. Was it? It was just internet stuff then. But you had things like Habbo Hotel. Where you could
Mhm.
create those rooms, and you had Neopets and all that kind
Oh
of
my
thing.
god.
It just seemed to be a modernized Nintendo looked at that and went, "Oh, that's all dead, is it? Well, not anymore," and then
Right?
brought it in. It's quite impressive. In that sense, very impressive. Very good business move, clearly. Um,
No, it's kind of it was actually kind of wild that somebody came out and basically talked about the correlation between the fascination with Animal Crossing and how some people like really hoped that that's how they were going to succeed in life through streaming and
mm,
whatnot, and how absolutely and utterly pointless and how little it contributed to the world. But that's just kind of what our workforce, at least the youngins'
mm,
workforce, has become. Of I don't want to develop an actual skill. I want to sit and pretend like there's a skill
mm,
and make money off of that. As everyone said.
absolutely. It's
Like it's a spicy comment. Because I don't necessarily want to come out and just talk about the laziness of some of our generations. There is a fascination
mm,
with kind of the quick money. And as somebody who plays a lot of card games, the card game industry has been experiencing that as well. Of it's not how do I get good at something and enjoy something. It's how do I get on board with something at the right time that I can
yeah.
pay minimal and make hundreds of dollars from collectors and investors off of it. It's a wild way to. It's not good. The internet is making everything bad. But
Do you know, it's interesting because I was kind of having a similar conversation specifically about L&D and instructional design the other day,
Mhm.
and how it's great that we're seeing increased interest in the industry.
Mhm.
But I am not convinced everyone is getting into it for the love of learning design. Um, and
Uh,
not everyone should get into it for the love of some. A lot of us, obviously we want to make money. That's why we do what we do.
All the
However,
acquisitions in the last 3-4 months that have been bought by venture capitalist companies.
well, yes, from a business perspective, absolutely, they've got no interest at all in what the product is, as long as it's profitable. But I
Mhm.
also, when you look at a lot of the advertising around, regardless of what you think of them, all these online academies and stuff, a lot of the marketing is you'll make loads of money as an instructional designer.
No,
And
you
these are
won't.
the no. First of all, it's a bit of a myth. Some instructional designers who have worked very hard for a very long time end up in well-paid positions. Some fall ass backwards into very well-paid positions, but usually end up losing them fairly quickly. And the rest of us earn a reasonable living. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
we work
Most
our
of us
ass
are.
off for it.
Yes, and I think that's the bit that these things are missing. And I do question a little bit the value of a lot of what's being given to these people. And I say this as someone who recently, like I said before, was looking to bring people onto projects and things like that, got lots of portfolios and found that they were cookie cutter, poorly designed,
Mhm.
could use the tool but didn't know anything about learning, or could kind of use the tool but not really once you asked them to do something other than standard sort of out of the box
Right.
interactions. Yeah, but there's this obsession with, I'll do this, I'll do an online academy for, I don't know, let's say if it's a really long course, it's 6 months, let's say. They're going to spend 5-6 grand, 6 months, and then they're going to have like a, I don't know, a six-figure salary is one of the promises I've seen out there. And it's just like, it's just not going to happen. And part of you thinks, how can you be so daft to think that is going to happen? But, like you were just saying, when you look at it from the view of people are desperate to make a lot of money quickly, for minimal
Mhm.
effort, that sounds great, right? Do
Yeah,
this
it's
course, get a massive salary.
are you familiar with the term feature creep?
Hmm.
Well, I guess there's different ways to translate the word feature creep. So in my business, in SaaS technologies, feature creep has two different applications. One is the way that you develop a platform, and it just becomes so feature focused that you screw up the basics. The second one, that was a sales term, um, or it's a sales mentality where you simply sell on features and nothing more and ignore the rest.
Right.
Um, so you literally are creeping features in, and you're saying, it's like, this, it doesn't matter how good this is. The thing that you were pissed off over here, we made that into a button. It doesn't matter if the rest of it's good or bad. It's
Yeah.
it's it just gets to be garbage, but you're gonna buy it anyway because you're gonna gravitate towards that. It's new and it's shiny. It's a shiny thing. Um, I think another thing to consider is that how people get in. That's something that's, sup, Luke. Yeah, we didn't do a great job advertising this time.
Yeah. No. It's been a week.
Yeah. Um, but
Maybe let's talk about our weeks after this conversation. That'll be interesting. That'll be funny.
I think, well, I mean, I think this is going to lead into like the learning trends actually too, also that we
Yeah. Yeah.
plan on
Definitely.
covering. But um, I think one of the things we got to think about is how people got into it. So we talk about, we just talked about people think that they're going to get the six-figure salaries and it's going to be great. For fun fact, I've been in the L&D for a decade and I don't have a six-figure salary. So shut up. It's not a thing. You really gotta build into something that is kind of not ID and more management.
I
Like
don't think
you're
I've ever met someone who builds courses that it's people who own their own business. Let's set that aside for a moment because that's a different kettle of fish.
yeah,
And even most of them do not earn a six-figure salary if they were completely
no,
honest. But
they're definitely not taking it home.
well, exactly. We all know that's the thing, right? But yeah, I've never met someone that does.
Yeah,
And I can't imagine a role that should get a six-figure salary for doing that job either. That's not a
no,
reasonable expectation.
no, not for L&D. But
Oh,
anyway, so
yeah.
back on the point. One of the things we talked about, one of the biggest issues of 2020 when we were in COVID, was that we had a lot of. Remember what happened? We had a lot of teachers moving
Mm,
ID because they couldn't teach anymore. So the big trend last year was teachers coming into instructional design, and teachers don't get paid for nothing. So we also saw an influx of positions that were garbage. Just they paid like trash.
yeah.
But because we knew we were targeting teachers, because people knew they were targeting teachers, that 40, 50K was amazing. It's leaps and bounds over. Like, we threw away what actual market value was for the idea of, percentage increase. Yeah, some what the heck am I trying to say? The perception of progress, the illusion of progress, in a good way. And I don't think we've gotten away from that. I think it's actively getting worse because there's too many stories and too many things you can get involved with on the internet where that progress skyrockets 900%. Collectibles skyrocketed during COVID because rich people were bored and they had money. Crypto is a constant story of that. The GME and AMC stocks, again, constant. It doesn't matter. None of these things that I'm mentioning have the value that people have assigned to them. L&D is another one of those instances where people are getting sold through an academy or something on a value that does not exist, but they think that jump is going to be worth it, so they'll do anything.
Yes.
I hate it. It needs to go. It really just needs to go. Anyway, that's my rant.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I think on a purely L&D perspective, I think it's interesting when you ask the people who are maybe they've not written 6 books and they're probably not on a 6-figure salary, etc., 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 but they have a career that they're happy with and that they love in the world of L&D or something L&D adjacent, or at least that's allowing them to live comfortably. Not many of them are going to turn around and go, "Oh yes, I entered L&D through an online academy."
Yeah, if you're teaching, or you did the worst, or you did the opposite direction, where, because I saw a couple positions where it was like, hey, you must have been like a senior programmer for X number of years if you want to take this L&D role. Like,
Yeah.
you do not want to do that.
No.
You're going to drop $40,000-$50,000 of salary.
It's a bit mad,
nobody
but
does that.
No, but this is a bit like here in the UK. We still get a lot of things going. Oh, it's a job in L&D, so we'd like to see a CIPD qualification, or a TAP cert. So that is the Chartered Institute of Personnel Development. So basically, they do HR, but because L&D was traditionally a bit of HR, they kind of also absorbed L&D.
Yeah.
I'm not their biggest fan, if I'm honest.
That shocks me none.
Here's the thing. I was like, when I decided I wanted to go into the world of L&D, I went and did one of their courses, and it utterly failed to give me anything useful to start my career. In fact, it made me look like an idiot at the start of my career. So, they kind of burnt their bridge early on there.
I do not have my degree in this room because I would also show you something else that did not do anything for me.
Right.
That would be a graphic design degree, by the way, everybody. I have a degree. I have a bachelor's in graphic design, and it's garbage. It means nothing to me.
But the skills must be useful at least.
The skills I could have gotten anywhere. I had half the skills going in because it was a hobby in high school.
Okay, yeah, I suppose that's...
So I learned, the only thing that I got good out of that was I took some marketing. I ended up taking some marketing classes on the side.
Yeah.
And that got me to fall in love with marketing. That's what I learned. I learned squat about graphic. You didn't. It's like L&D. You don't, I don't know. I've never done a degree, so I apologize to everybody who has like the college degrees, masters in ID and stuff like that. But we talk about all the time that learning stuff doesn't mean nearly as much as being able to apply some practicality to it, and that's just not something that's educated. It's just not. If it were, I would expect we would have seen more of it in this industry.
Yeah, and I think my argument with that is always kind of, if you want to do it, cool, do it. But it's by no means an essential step in becoming a good instructional designer. I know fantastic IDs who are masters and PhD holders, but I equally know people whose work I do not regard as either being passable who have those same qualifications. There are some real strong academics in the field who know everything about learning, but I would not ask them to design 5 minutes of learning, let alone an entire kind of course.
Yeah,
and that's exactly. Then that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But it's about knowing what you're going to get out of these things, and that's kind of where my gripe with a lot of the basically the money grabbing in the industry is right now.
Mhm.
Pay to do this, pay and I'll show you this, pay and I'll show you that. And I kind of think
And look
so
at what
much
you'll
of this
make from it.
stuff, yeah, and that's the bit that frustrates me, is the promise of you'll make it or you'll get this. It's like, we know as people in L&D that is not how it works. So we are, I would say, doubly guilty compared to other industries that do it. I'm all
Here's
for online courses, I'm all for supporting people as they enter the industry, but we maybe need to make a slightly more honest presentation of what we're offering and what value it will bring them, and maybe stop charging for everything.
here's a funny
Because
story. Funny story. When I actually switched majors. I switched to graphic design after doing 2 years of multimedia and web, because I learned that I hated multimedia and web. And people were just going to hire graphic designers anyway, because it doesn't matter how well it's coded; it's about how good it looks.
Yep, obviously.
Graphic designers, and that's literally how the industry worked. So I'd already committed. You know, I went to the Art Institute of Colorado. Big mistake. Already committed though. Signed all the documents, signed all the loans. Get into orientation, and their sell, like one of their big sells, was this is a job. The graphic design is you're going to succeed. It's a job that starts at $29,000 a year. I'm like, and like that moment, I think half of the people in orientation were like, "Wait, what?" Like, that's awful. That was a little bit of a shell shock, and I think like my entire college experience just was shaped by that one moment. What is that? 29,000 is how much an hour? 14.87 an hour. Which at the time, if you say about $15 an hour, that would have been much more attractive, because it was 2003 when I went to the Art Institute and switched over. That was a decent chunk of change.
I'm trying to work out. It's about 29,000 a year. Did you say
29,000 US per year?
So that's just under 22. Just under 20. Yeah, 21,750 in the UK.
Yeah, so 500 a week ish.
Yeah.
Before taxes. Like, let's throw that in there. But that was like the hook, and I'm paying private school prices for this. I'm like, oh,
that is tricky.
And it was like a job at Alpha Graphics, and there's no trajectory. That's the thing that new people at L&D don't actually know what the trajectory is. You're going to create courses, and then you're going to maybe design courses, and then what? What is a director of like? There isn't director of L&D position. Sometimes there's one of those. I'm a learning program manager. That's my job. VP of development, learning and development.
Yeah.
Most people don't even know what the hell that means. Most people who actually are even getting close to those six-figure incomes work in the kind of companies that have 4 different L&D teams, and you hate the other 3. Like,
and
there's
the people
no
earning
pathway.
Yeah, and the people earning the 6-figure salaries have got nothing to do with learning design at that point.
No,
they spend their time managing budgets.
Yeah, they're managing budgets. They're yelling at you and saying, "This is what the company wants to try to do next year. Figure out how it becomes a learning program."
That's it. That's exactly it.
Like, we lost our CEO because he was a methodology guy, big into methodology, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to step down from the business and the tech side of things and go be a preacher for this methodology," and that's great. But we were trying to actually be like, how are we going to teach to the methodology when it's just like not something we need right now? But he's like, "Oh, this is my baby. I want L&D to be on top of this." We don't know how to teach him. Nobody's teaching your program right now. That's what we need.
Yeah.
So thankfully, switched and became more business mindset, more software mindset. So we're able to do some really cool stuff right now. But
cool.
It just goes back to that, like, people way up there don't really know what they want.
No, that's never going to change, right?
Right. Which sounds like a learning trend to me. I'm going to force a segue into this because we're like 20 minutes in.
Absolutely, yeah. So, one of the big things to discuss this time around is that who was it? Udemy Business launched their 2022 Workplace Learning Trends Report, and there was some really cool stuff in there. I thought some really interesting insights. So what I will do, I'll pop a link, or have you got a link to this, Joey Live? I've got a local document.
I've got a link. I'll throw it in chat.
Awesome.
I don't know if you have access to this, but I'm hoping that people can just access this.
It's
Uh,
just a PDF, isn't it?
yeah, it's one of those that was like behind a send us an email so we can send you 3,000 things about how crappy our business is.
There is also that, yes.
Both
But
those.
that's what I think. Just try you're putting the link in. One of the things I found interesting was they spent a lot of time doing what they called reframing soft skills
Hmm.
into, as they've put it, power skills. They aren't just nice to have; they're essential to changing the workplace. You
So
can tell someone from L&D wrote this. It's lots of words, very little content. However, moving on from that, the ridiculous statements, they make the point around soft skills have got a bit of an issue. One, in their name, soft skills is not a good name for what those skills are.
Mhm.
And also, they're poorly regarded and poorly trained because they're very difficult to be exact about.
Mhm.
Again, the
So it's a
name
matter of
doesn't help, the topics don't help. And what they basically did was break it down, power skills, into several different sections, and then start looking at what actually matters to businesses in terms of what's experienced growth over the period of this survey. And usually, when we're talking soft skills, let's run down the list. Top of the one for the last year has to be an empathy. Ugh.
oh god.
Yeah, because that's something you can train. Well, I mean,
We had a whole thing on that.
yeah, exactly.
We're not
Guys,
fans.
no. Jump in the chat as well. Anything you've come across in soft skills that you just kind of see and go, oh, really? Joey, obviously, I know you've done lots of soft skill stuff as well, so dive in as well. But the topics are always just so soft. They're not
Mm.
skills really. They're more just like, I don't know, attributes of mankind. It's really
Traits,
bizarre.
personality traits, maybe.
This is
Um,
it.
like God. Oh, oh God. That's the one. Self motivation.
Mm,
I hate that one. I hate that one. Um, it's
exactly.
like, can we leave you alone and give you no standards, or can we push you standards, but then you don't? That's not a self motivated admin. It's like, I kind of need the business to tell me what I need to do. Stop. So
Yeah.
bad.
It's generally speaking, the topics just are never great. And
Hmm.
what this does a really good job, I think, actually, of pulling out. Let me share it on screen just so you
Yeah.
guys can see it. Let's make that full screen there.
I do like that flexibility is not on there. That's another one.
Oh,
Remember flexibility? Remember
God,
what the
yeah.
garbage that was that?
And then adaptability to go with it.
Yeah, adaptability.
And that kind of all got rolled into the bullshit of the world of, we need to be an agile workplace. You mean you want us all to try and do 6 jobs at once with no skills in any of them? Cool, this will go well.
Agile doesn't even mean anything.
Well, exactly. But
Me and Agile and L&D, we are not friends. I will gladly raise my middle finger in public up to the Agile community. And it sucks when you work in SaaS because it works great in software and it
this
is
is it.
miserable in anything that does not have a final answer.
But the software world is what it was designed for. People go,
Yeah.
all these incredible companies, Microsoft, Facebook, so all these people, they use it, so why can't we? It's like, because we're not building software. Like, it's like asking why we don't code e-learning using Ruby. It would be a stupid thing to do. It's the wrong tool for the job.
Yeah.
But hey, what can you do? But what I really liked about this is first of all, they broke power skills down into loads, and this is just the first one, communication and teamwork. But none of these skills that have seen these massive increases are wishy-washy, soft nonsense. Assertiveness, facilitation, team building, business writing, and critical thinking. All well, apart from critical thinking,
Critical
all
thinking, yeah,
seeing
that one's a little...
over 100%. Now, I love that critical thinking is there, but I think L&D is going to do a very poor job of training it out, unfortunately, because L&D doesn't do much of it itself. The
Agreed.
learning styles debate, the fact that debate still exists in that sentence tells us how bad we are at critical thinking. But setting that aside, when you look, you just think the top 5 surging communication and teamwork skills, and by a huge margin, the top one is assertiveness. Not empathy, not hand holding, not listening to others. It's assertiveness. Now, that is something you can train. Facilitation, yes, that's a set of skills, I grant you, but it can be trained. Team building, yes, there are skills involved. For once, we have got a list of things that we can actually do.
I love, like, if you haven't checked over on the right side where they have the do's and don'ts, that section is just brilliant too. Like, be intentional about your energy. Your mood's contagious even on Canton. Listen to great music, be well fed, breathe deeply to put yourself into the best mindset before you begin your video call. That's good info. That's actual tangible info. Not make sure you're ready, be attentive. Like, stop. No, I'm a big fan of how, like, practical and useful this is. Don't focus on yourself throughout the video call. That's something I suck at. I'm one of those people that, especially if it's something I'm passionate about, I'm waiting for something that I can respond to, and then I'm thinking about your answer before you're done with your sentence, or I'm thinking about my answer before you're done with the sentence. Like, that's me. And this is like saying, stop. If you find yourself wandering to enter channel, pause and refocus your attention on the person speaking. Good. That's good info. Good job, Ethan. Good job. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I must admit, I think this is one of the better reports I think I've seen in the world of L&D. Leadership and management. Now, this is the only one where I have a couple of issues, if I'm honest.
You're gonna jump right to diversity and inclusion?
I totally get why it is there, but it's really not a training problem.
Yeah, no, yeah, okay, good. We have the same problem.
Yeah, it should absolutely be a huge focus in every business, be it small business, startup, massive multinational firm. It should be an absolute priority. It is not something you can train. You are not going to train your office racist into being a decent human being. You just need to fire them for being a racist. That is perfectly reasonable.
Here's the thing. This could get me in trouble. So if you guys want to yell at somebody for this, yell at me. Joey. Hi. We have affirmative action. And that is, it's kind of like an equal opportunity employer, but it's a bigger stance on, we are going to put emphasis on making sure that diversity, inclusion, or diversity at least, comes first. And the argument against it is you stack the deck when that becomes such a big focus, and it's not about being diverse anymore. It's about checking off the box that you appear diverse. And that's what happened to us in the United States. That's what affirmative action did. And it became a huge topic where it wasn't necessarily about being equal. It was the illusion of equality. And again, like you said, that's not something you teach. Like, you have to be okay instinctively throwing that away.
Yeah.
And we don't do that here. We made it a rule. And now we have it as a metric.
See, that concerns me. Yeah. It's it's a real tricky topic, and I'm by no means an expert in it.
Yeah.
And funny enough, it came up this week where someone approached my business about creating training on this exact topic. Specifics within it and their policies and that kind of thing. So there was something to cover. But I went back and said, we actually don't take on this work. And they came back and said, I can't believe you don't support diversity inclusion. So no, I do, but I do not feel that I am well placed to speak about it or to create content about it. There are better people out there in the industry who really know this stuff. And predominantly, they're not white middle-aged men.
Yeah, I regularly regard myself as cishet garbage. I know this, but there's also better industries for it. That's like going to a car wash and blaming the car wash that the hot water used to clean your car can't be used to make pasta. Like, it's a different industry.
Yeah, I did kind of say you probably want to. First of all, like, diversity and inclusion is an industry in of itself now. There are businesses that specialize in this. Go to them. Also, see marketing. This is far more of an internal marketing challenge than it is a learning challenge. No one in your business, hopefully, You know, if they genuinely don't hold these views and have never been exposed to them, there's a bigger problem in terms of who you're hiring. But setting that one aside, the rest of these things for leadership and management, which are historically, again, full of wishy-washy terms, we've got very specific things. We've got OKRs. Everyone moans about them, but they work. So
Is that just replacing KPI?
no, so it's kind of about nested goal setting
Okay.
and strategic alignment across the business, the team, the individual, and making sure that all day-to-day tasks actually funnel in towards not just their personal goal, but the team's goal, the department's goal, and the business's goal all at once.
Got it.
So when done properly, super effective. The issue is, as always, no bugger does it properly,
Nobody
and
has a
then
problem.
goes, but it doesn't work. There,
You do it properly, like diversity and inclusion. I'm kind of going back to that.
No, that's cool. Let's go back to it.
I'm looking. Here's a question for you. If diversity, so there's two ways to look at diversity and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
There's the, race, gender way. The isms, because it's diversity and inclusion is a specific way to tackle isms. But there's also the actual meaning of diversity and inclusion, which is to get a diverse perspective and include everyone.
Yes.
Which I love that kind of stuff because that's how I made a career of, hey, I'm this guy who doesn't have a manager title. I would like to be included in this.
Yeah.
That's what diversity and inclusion is. If we were to change the name, do you think it'd be better? Because I honestly think the two are confused right now. Because I immediately looked at diversity and inclusion. I went like DEI. And it's, bringing the different races, bringing different people of all walks of life.
Yeah.
But that's not exactly what it means.
No, it's such a tricky area. And I think in some ways it's getting worse because increasingly I'm seeing head of learning, development and inclusion as a job title. That concerns me.
That's weird.
Yeah, I've seen a few of them recently, and it's like that's like a couple of jobs.
I'm looking that up.
Yeah, it worries me a bit that they're merging them because they're not really related that much. But yeah, again, it's a topic where it is a focus. It should be a focus. I don't know what the right thing to do is, if I'm honest. And I sometimes feel like the most and this is where I think businesses go wrong, is I think sometimes the most constructive thing that a business leader can say is go, look, I don't know what the right answer is here, so let's speak to someone who does, or hire a professional who does, rather than pretending that with zero real world experience of the things that we're talking about, trying to tie it all together.
Okay.
It certainly needs clarity in my mind, because you go to every business and every business is, whether it's diversity and inclusion or equity department or whatever each business calls their particular name for it. They're all completely different with completely different measurements for success. This is interesting from Luke. It's a recruitment issue in his point of view. So some basic awareness company wide, but it's definitely a recruitment HR topic.
Yeah. I'm looking at a job for Director of Diversity and Inclusion, Learning and Development.
Yeah.
They even have the essential responsibilities split into two sections. One's D&I, the other's L&D.
Almost like it's two jobs.
It is. It is
How
absolutely.
mad is that?
This is absolutely two different jobs. Designs, implements, manages comprehensive strategy to achieve the firm's DEI goals and keep KPIs. Lead champion for DEI or DEI. Creates and implements an internal DEI communication strategy. And then learning development. And then the rest of it.
Just in your spare time, once you've solved the equality issues of the world, just fill in for learning and development.
I put it in the chat actually. I put the exact job that I was looking at. This is wild. This is not good. This is like me getting dumped on. I got dumped on with enough responsibilities as an L&D. This is like the company doesn't know what to do. Let's just have training do it.
Yep.
I get that enough, guys.
This is, and I think that's the fear. And that I think is an example of where it becomes tick box, like you were saying. Like I have no real understanding of like, any kind of like affirmative action things like that in the US. I know nothing about them, so I wouldn't render an opinion on them. But it,
Yeah, I mean, it's
I feel
hard for
like
me
we,
because I've never been on the other side of that coin. I've never been, the one who's been
yeah,
passed off because I'm of the wrong race. It's not a thing for me. So
exactly.
it's
It's
so
very
hard to
difficult.
empathize,
Yeah.
and you can't
Um,
teach me how to
no,
empathize.
which is the original point, is that it's just not a training problem. You also see the DNI support statement on job adverts now saying they support it, which is weird as it should be. Yeah, absolutely is weird. It's a bit like when a company tells you how amazing their company culture is. It's like,
Yeah,
this is not a thing you should be that excited about. Good news, we're not dickheads. It's like,
yeah.
great,
Now with
that's
less
good.
murder.
Exactly.
Okay.
This is exactly it. It's I do want to, like, if these companies, instead of saying we support diversity and inclusion, if they said now we're less racist,
Yeah, it's
they
like
would never put that.
it's like those signs on the corporate sites that say, this number of days since our last accident. Like, who cares? Don't have one today.
This is it, or rather, how many accidents were you having? Um,
Yeah,
and you
right.
know what, you are right. Luke, from it's there's disability side of this as well. Like, training empathy training empathy is a lie. And it's a lie
Yeah,
that the L&D industry has sold for a long time. You can't train empathy. It's a trait of humanity. People
yeah.
have it. They have it at varying levels, and they show it in different ways.
I can inform
Live with
you.
it.
I
Yeah,
can get you to acknowledge the concept, but I can't drive it in you.
exactly. Understanding the definition of empathy does not make you empathic. It just means you understand the definition of empathy. It's,
Yeah.
but hey, what we can do. But yeah, I suppose it's important to stress that the D&I world is not. I've used the answer of now we're less racist there, but it applies to everything else as well. Where be it all the isms and all the all the other little things that it's in. But for me, it's always missed the core point is that we're past the point where the idea of equality being the answer works.
Mm,
It's got to be an equity based approach.
right.
The issue then is, how do you apply equity or create equity in the right places, in the right way? There is no one universal correct answer, which is tricky.
I think there's something wild that I actually just noticed as we're talking about it, which is on this screen. Look at the bottom right graph. Where it's top 5 surging over 20 the last 5 years, or
Yes.
2017 and 2021 percentage consumption growth. So it's a cumulative thing. Strategic thinking way above the rest, which only has 119 added to the pile this time. D&I, which has 205% in 2021, more than half, comes in at second in the last 4. Like, that stops looking like good practice and starts. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be the jerk here. That starts looking like fear.
Yeah.
That starts looking, like, just like you said. What do you mean you don't take on that work? Does this mean you don't support it? No, that's not what it means at all. And God, especially with the internet the way that it is now, with how we are,
Mm-hmm.
I've got to be a D&I company. I have to push it. I didn't even know what that was until 3 years ago.
It's because most people, and I will say most people, operate on fairly simple principles of decency towards other human beings.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, those who don't tend to be louder, which is why we hear a lot more from them, etc., etc.
exactly.
But I think businesses, it exists in. You're right. It exists in these kinds of numbers because every business is terrified of them being the next one to be called out on the internet, and that's not universally a bad thing. Like, bad employers should 100% be called out, and it should happen publicly so that others
Yeah,
know.
suck it, Blizzard.
Prime example.
Yeah,
Prime
sorry.
example, and the sooner their CEO is forced to step down, the better. It's a disgusting human being, but that's
Yeah, it's a whole nother episode.
exactly. Let's not even dive into
This is
that world.
L&D, guys.
But lots to learn from them. But never mind. But yeah, it's super tricky, but it is weird to see it there. It's the only thing here that I wish wasn't here purely from a learning perspective, because it is not a learning challenge inherently.
All right.
But the rest, I was really pleased to see the rest.
Yeah, I was a fan. All right, let's do a little next one because the next one pisses me off. I'm actually mad at this one
Productivity and collaboration.
because
Computer
computer skills
skills.
doesn't mean shit. And
Love
it's
it.
funny that computer skills exists, and then right below time management are 3 computer skills.
Yeah.
Like,
Do
what
you
is
know
this,
what?
typing?
What? Do you know something crazy? I think this is going to go up significantly over the coming years, because increasingly we're going to see increasing generations of technology literate people who do not use computers. They just use phones, tablets.
Mhm.
Increasingly, you know, desktop computing was a necessity for, certainly for me, for everyone here. If when because that was what a computer was.
Right.
Like when we all started using them, if you used an electronic device, it had a keyboard, a mouse, a screen, a tower, and it made a heck of a lot of noise when it connected to the internet, right? That's
Mhm.
that's the world we grew up in, and so it became obvious. So we learned how to type. Some of us more proficiently than others, but we learned how to type. And we were taught at school, some of us, I think most of us, how to use a keyboard, basic computer skills, office, these kinds of things. Doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah. I think I'm more frustrated at the fact that there are 3 others that are computer skills than the word computer skills. Like, I'm frustrated that
Yeah.
in productivity and collaboration, there's nothing about resource management. There's nothing about
Yeah.
project management. There's nothing about there's nothing about anything that, like, I would put in the realm of needing to be productive and collaborative. This is,
Yeah.
what are the tools that let you be productive? And the only one that actually sort of lets you be collaborative is SharePoint, and I've got thoughts there.
But we've
Like,
got to
like,
think
even in the
these
graph
are.
below, Confluence is in the graph below.
Yeah, that's weird. To be honest, just because it's so
Because they
oddly
used to be
specific.
cool. Remember
Well,
when
this is
Confluence
true.
was cool?
They're 10 minutes in the sun.
Right?
Yeah, but I think you have to remember that these are kind of these are all going to be based on volume, right? And the volume of people who need to learn these specific things is going to outweigh the volume of people who learn project management, for better or worse.
Then why have them separate? Why have computer skills exist as a general thing and then have very specific ones? You might as well say
Yeah,
Outlook. You might as well just put in typing.
this is true.
Setting,
I guess
setting
it.
the correct time zone.
And I do wonder if part of this is just because obviously they're reporting based on like Udemy uptake is a big what they use for this.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be some limitation on what is available. That's a kind of inherent limitation of their data, I guess.
Yeah.
And
But
these are only the increases. I suspect if we were to look for, I mean, the bottom one's only 70%. I suspect if we kept looking down, we would see a lot more of the human-y stuff further down.
I guess. But I mean, I'm looking over the right side
Mhm.
that says managing a common time trap email. How is that on the
Okay, yeah.
list? Anywhere. Doesn't even have to be Outlook or anything because there's many different ESPs, but
Yeah.
email. Put on a thing. I don't know. This feels lazy to me. This one of all of them, this is the only one that actually feels lazy.
Yeah.
Windows 10
It's
doesn't help you collaborate for shit. Lord knows
no.
it doesn't help you be productive. Um,
Just wait for Windows 11. That's not going to solve much.
Like the only one that I truly agree with is time management, but time management also doesn't exactly say anything. That's one of those vague soft skills.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
think it's a. Sorry,
I'm
carry
gonna,
on.
no, I'm done. All I'm gonna do is whine.
All I was going to say was on this one before we move on. I think it is a shame that they combined productivity and collaboration.
Oh yeah.
Those are two different topics, certainly from a learning perspective.
Mhm.
Because productivity, totally. Computer skills, I get. Windows 10, I get. PowerPoint and SharePoint, they're oddly specific. I might just say the Office platform, but I would get it. Emails or email management, I would get, because that is a productivity killer. At the minute in workplaces, people don't know how to manage an email inbox anymore. It's madness. Again, something we all had to learn in workplaces. But again, there's lots of people who don't know. That would be useful training on productivity, and yeah, collaboration, both the tools and the human skills, would be good as a separate section. But
Yeah.
this
If we're
one
playing
is interesting.
if we're playing vague terms, I'm
Sorry.
sad I haven't seen neither this or communication and teamwork is knowledge share and
Yeah,
knowledge sharing. And then maybe that's because it's lumped in diversity and inclusion and the garbage definitions there, but
possibly. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not a fan of this one. Microsoft
No.
Word has dropped off. I'm looking at the thing down the bottom right
Yes.
again.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But
How
again,
is
do you know what?
PowerPoint only fourth?
Over 4 years, over the last 4 years, yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
maybe
PowerPoint's one
that
of
is
those
learning
odd
and development.
tools though, because genuine frontline employees don't need PowerPoint. They just don't.
That's true, but this is a learning trend. Well, I mean, it's a learning trend, not learning and development trend. Never
Yeah,
mind, you're right. Okay, that's fair.
yeah,
That's fair. I'll shut up.
yeah. I don't know,
You got that one.
but yeah. So this is a funny topic. Personal development and wellness. This was
Oh,
just
interesting.
bizarre. This for me in one slide actually highlights why I don't use Udemy, because on the same platform as you've got all this really useful work related course stuff, we've then got English language fine, interior design, music theory, piano, and fitness. Um,
And guitar at a surging 712. Who the heck? How is half of this? How is German? I don't understand this one.
yeah, and I get it that we're seeing like a lot of this is about people are learning more in their off hours, and companies should focus more on well-being. This is true. This is
Yeah.
not what that looks like. The well-being of your
No.
employees is not giving them time to learn interior design. The well-being of your employees is paying them a decent wage, treating them like human beings, and just generally not being a dick. It's not difficult. It doesn't actually cost you anything.
I'm trying to figure what are these trying to say? Like these are things that they suggest their employees do.
So this all these graphs are measuring the growth in these particular course areas. So this is measuring what people are actually doing in terms of course taking.
I'm blown away by this. Because you know what's missing on this that I haven't seen that is messing with my head right now?
Go for it.
Meditation. How is that not on this list? When places like Headspace are becoming company branded or becoming company benefits, I'm amazed that meditation is not on this list.
Perhaps that's an example of the fact that offering it does not mean people take it or find it useful.
That's true. Meditation is the only thing I have time for. I don't have time for piano. Who has time for piano?
But I'm not. But here's the flip side of that argument. If I
mindfulness, thank you, Suarez.
Yeah, let's not jump into mindfulness. I already fell out of enough people on my opinions on that. I got so many emails after the last. It was the last episode where I went in on mindfulness and its potential dangers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I want to say that was last month. I got so many emails telling me how I was wrong and a bad person and how I needed to look after people. Yeah.
It's not what it is.
No, I know. But here's the flip side of that. If a company said, we will either give you time to meditate or time to learn the piano, god damn it, I'm learning the piano. That's a skill. That's useful to me.
That's not. What are you going to do with it? You're going to hang in a hotel bar? Maybe get a free drink?
Hells yeah. No, I'd be one of those irksome people that would learn to play the piano really well and then go to toy stores and hang out on the kiddie piano playing.
That is
really
always
well.
that's always been kind of a dream to be that guy.
Thing is, I quite like music. So I play the guitar, I play a couple of other things, but I always wish I had learnt the piano. So for me, it's kind of a biased thing. But I get it. Same as with music theory. I think. Weirdly, I think broadly, music, if a company is going to invest in giving people time to learn something for the purposes of wellness, big air quotes around that broad topic, I think music is a fantastic... I think music is a fantastic thing that they could do. Music has a lot of great benefits. It's a wonderful skill. Most people either do learn an instrument at some point in their life or want to learn an instrument at some point in their life. Not everyone, but a lot of people.
Says, I struggle with music theory because one of my favorite movies is High Fidelity, which talked about basically the rock era, and I have to go straight to the line. Am I miserable because I listen to pop music, or do I listen to pop music because I'm miserable? I'm like, I don't think any of that helps your wellness.
No, but that's not music theory.
That's me being weird. I love music theory. I took
Yeah.
classical music theory, and I really did enjoy it. I'm still just baffled that this is the list. That this is where people are gravitating to, given how much is out there for other things that is so easily accessible. I'm just a little blown away by it.
I feel like I'm a little bit out of touch with the world when interior design sees 115% increase in learning time.
I'm gonna argue on that one because I think I might know why.
Yeah.
And I actually have to, if I put this into a vague term like interior design, I have to look at my wife, who is out of retail, needed to try to find found a job, as so many people did, something that was possibly remote. And suddenly, how well I decorate my office and how do I make an office space in a day and age where now I am working from home, that's where I'm putting interior design. That's why I think that has a surge.
That's quite interesting, yeah. It would be interesting to see in a year, because I suppose actually it's not there for the 2017-2021 measure.
Yeah.
So it's literally jumped to the top this year.
I think that's a COVID climb.
But it'll be interesting to see what happens in another year, 2 years' time.
Which also might explain music theory and piano, because you can actually do them at home. I can't
This
bring
is
my
true.
piano in
Having
the
said that, piano's 380% over the 4 years. Guitar is 712% over the 4 years.
Where did that go? Why is that not on the list?
I guess this year maybe it took the back seat to some of these others. But
Must have. Something must have happened where guitars got real cool.
Well, guitar's a funny instrument. It was super cool to play for a long time, then became really uncool, and now just seems to kind of drift a little bit.
That's the minimalism.
Strange.
That's the van life. It's probably van life though, because everyone had the guitar for van life, and then that stopped being cool because they were just assholes.
None of them had good guitar stuff anyway. Part of the joy of playing guitar is all the crap you buy to go with it that you can't fit in a van.
Fair.
He says, beholding the mountain of crap in the corner. But yeah, so this part I found really interesting actually, and we shan't go through this whole document because it is a big document. But I liked the fact that they had this tactical skills section that really looked at like specific topics like business intelligence, where they looked at specific skill sets. They look at design and UX, graphic design.
I'm so glad that's becoming a thing now. I'm so glad the graphic design and product design is up there in the upper echelons of growth. I love that web accessibility. I don't know why web accessibility is lower, but web accessibility and user interface, the top 5 in the bottom right, that needs to take the forefront. That needs to be a thing. We're past the tech surge where its existence gets you through the day. You need to actually make it functional now. Freaking stop.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's my word.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think, but we see that we get in finance and counting, cryptocurrency, rubbish at the top. But I suppose it's important for them to have that understanding. But
it's a shiny thing. We literally just talked about it. It's a shiny thing. Naturally, we're going to gravitate towards that.
Exactly. And then this is where I got annoyed in this. HR and talent development.
Online course creation.
Jeez. Oh, no. It's not good to see them mixed, especially from someone like you to me who should know better. But setting that aside for a moment, it concerns me that we're seeing online course creation moving ahead of instructional design. Now, whether people like it or not, one is somewhat dependent on the other. Linking back to the crap learning you may pay a lot of money for online, that's why this number is so much bigger than this number. We've got lots of people interested in launching a course, but no interest in learning how to do it well. To me, that says a lot. And I get that for a lot of people, they're launching an online course to basically make up for the fact they've lost their job or lost a lot of income because of COVID and whatnot. But kind of not good enough.
The thing that is throwing me off is the difference between the the grids, the graphs, and the right side. Because the right side, they put a lot of focus on the HR stuff, HR certifications. 34% of HR professionals hold at least one cert. HR pros see a 31% pay boost. And then everything on the left in the graphs is it's a majority talent development, L&D.
It's
And that's
because
a
most
message to me. If I'm wanting to get into the industry and I look at this slide, I'm thinking that I need to get certifications because I'm going to see the same pay bumps as HR people will. You won't. Stop.
no. HR will always get a bigger pay bump because they're the ones sorting out the wages.
Yeah, right.
That's the
true.
truth of it.
That is fair. That is accurate.
You know, but yeah,
That's funny.
Joe Suarez spotting the same thing: course creation tied with HR. It's the most bizarre thing.
Yeah.
HR's job is to make sure they can sack you without getting sued. That's their job. Our job is to, skill the workforce and ensure they can do their job well. Those two things are not the same thing.
But workforce management, it shouldn't even be HR. It should just be. It should straight up be workforce management, in my opinion. Because HR
100%.
HR is a very specific set of conversations and focus. Talent development, and we already talked about how they don't go together.
Yeah.
But workforce management is where you get into do I have the right people in the right teams? That's where you actually get into, can I sack people? Or do I need to move people around? Or do I actually have a functional deficiency in my organization? And then talent development solves the gaps that create the workforce management problems. Arg. And of course, I'm a little biased because I work for a workforce management SaaS company. So I've started to see the world through the eyes of workforce management. So I've started to see just how long the bridge between these two sides really is. So I'm whining about it. I'm also kind of blown away over in the bottom right, the fact that these are all, like, if you look over 4 years, the percentage increase of any given one can easily, comfortably suggest that we had no clue what the hell we were doing the last 4 years in these. I have a feeling the last 4 versions of this report, the top 5 were completely flipped and completely different.
Yeah.
Because instructional design's only at 182% with 49 growth this time. Where the hell was it? I mean, last year, where was it last year? How does 4 years, given that guitar has 700%, people had a very clear understanding what they were heading towards. And HR and talent development never knows what it wants to do year over year. Cynthia?
Hello! Welcome to the gang.
We were just ranting. I'm ranting.
Yeah, this was going to be like a let's look at some analysis of the industry and what people are learning, and we're just
whining about
it. Marketing. Here we go. I know very little about this, so I'm interested to hear your take on this.
I love that marketing analytics is at the top. I can't get over how much I love marketing analytics is at the top. Because it's the same problem that you and I complain about all the time with L&D, is that nobody knows how to analyze what's actually happening. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm so much a fan. Marketing strategy goes a little bit low. That's fine. I don't mind that. Content marketing, that's about as close to a soft skill as you can get. I'm amazed that Facebook ads is pumping up. And the reason I'm surprised that Facebook ads is pumping up, because what I don't see is TikTok. I don't see short form ads. And the only place that I see that is in Instagram marketing. But even then, that's not entirely short form ad. I'm a little stumped. I'm a little surprised by this one. That social media as a broad concept is still not kicking. And we're just still in Facebook mode. That blows my mind a little bit. But again, I'm glad to see marketing analytics. I like that that's up there. Not just marketing teams using analytics tool. Topics saw 185% increase in hours consumed. Yeah, that doesn't shock me. Google Analytics still top spot because nobody's been able to do it better. Or if they have, they can't make an interface that suggests that. That's their problem.
Well, yeah.
It's always been the problem. Let's see. Over on the left, they talk EU GDPR, market is shifting how brands use consumer data. Okay. Okay. Guys, that's a lie. That's a
Let's
big lie.
let's minimize this, 'cause I feel like this is worth a discussion point.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I want to
Let
ask
me
you about TikTok as well, but let's do this first.
Okay, let's do this one first because I have a very specific experience that lends me to what GDPR did. So let's quickly talk about yeah, no LinkedIn either. Yeah, I could see that too.
Hmm.
So all right, so let's cover GDPR and let's cover what happened because there are multiple things happened. GDPR, which is also known as the right to be forgotten. It was a lawsuit put by somebody who basically had some bad information or had information that was not good for him that was like a decade old out on the internet, but it was also the top search for him because he's not a popular guy. So he could not get a job as a result of that being the top search. So he files a lawsuit that says I need to be allowed to purge data about myself. I need to have the right to do that, especially if I know that things are taken out of context. And it
Yeah.
became the right to be forgotten, now known as GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. On the flip side of that, number 2, California passed something very similar. CCPA, California Consumer Protection Act, I think. Same idea, but less strict in that it's not that they're purging data, it's that any company needs to tell you exactly what they are planning on doing with your data. Marketers, as with all things, lost their minds when they saw this type of stuff of like, oh, our entire marketing campaign and everything we do has to shift. It's the same thing that happened with Google when Gmail switched to having 3 tabs. Remember that? Remember they had the inbox,
Yeah.
promotion, social, and promotions. And marketers lost their mind. They didn't know what to do with that. They're like, oh God, how are we going to sneak back into the inbox? And it actually turned out better. It actually was a better thing. Marketers actually saw a big uptick when their stuff wasn't getting saturated with things that people were, like in the middle of their day, like bill announcements and whatnot. They were actually able to get a better percentage of actual buyers, actual conversions. Maybe the opens went a little bit low, but the percentage of conversions went up because I had a specific marketing tab or promotion tab that said, when I'm ready to buy something, it's all there for me. Anyway, back to GDPR. Marketing world lost its mind on what to do. But here's the thing that they don't tell you is that GDPR is in the world, there's something called PII. That's personally identifiable information. That is your name, that is your address, that is your phone number, that is the direct ways that I reach out to you. Big data marketing never needed that to begin with.
Yeah.
We don't. What we need is a device ID. And what we need is general transaction history that doesn't have to be tied to a human being, because that's not how it works. And actually, fun fact, there's a man, I'm gonna go for an hour on this. I'm sorry. I'll try to wrap this up.
No, that's all right. You go for it, mate. I'm pouring another drink.
There is a type of marketing. One of the channels of marketing is called display marketing. So if you watch this video, this YouTube, if you come back and replay it, and there's a video at the beginning of it, like an ad, that's display marketing. It is just displayed in front of you. Display marketers, those companies, don't need your name. They don't need your phone number. They don't need anything. They need your device ID. And they actually, to protect themselves, which was a thing before GDPR was even a thing, actually stripped all of your PII. They took it out. It was actually part of the contract of, we don't want any of that. We want your transaction information, and we want to assign you to an ID, but that ID will point us to a device. It'll point us to a profile ID that might contain it, but the company doing the ads doesn't have that. They just have the profile ID. They'll send it to Facebook, and Facebook will say, oh, this belongs to Tom. But that's them. I just need a device ID to get you into that. And then all I care about is your actions. I care about, are you a beer drinker in Colorado in the United States? If that's the case, then this company that is going to spend $50,000 on an ad buy for their new liquor store in Colorado is going to target those profiles, and they don't need my name for that. GDPR did not change the marketing space like anybody thinks it does. It doesn't. This is a dumb line. It just is. Marked a shift in how brands use consumer data, sort of. But the good advertising agencies didn't need the consumer data that GDPR protects.
Yeah.
They just don't. As consumers gain greater control over the digital data footprints, marketing teams are recalibrating their strategies and finding new ways to tie the results seen in marketing analytics to consumer behavior. Bullshit. That's not new. Okay? As consumer, take out everything before the comma. And we'll take out anything that suggests that this is new. Marketing teams are recalibrating their strategies and finding new ways to tie results seen in marketing analytics to consumer behavior. That's not a new thing. Every company does that every year. That's how email had the roller coaster that it had. That's how people learned that influencer marketing was garbage at the rate that they were paying influencers. That's how you get shifts in Facebook and Twitter and all of these different places. That's how Elo had like 2 days of fame. That's how any new company dabbles. It is not contingent in the slightest on how much consumers control their data. We learned that when we had opt-in for email. This is superficial. Stop. Sorry. Rant over.
That's all right. I was going to pick up a space there. So obviously that we touched on the lack of TikTok there from a marketing perspective, but TikTok is something I am somewhat tired of hearing about in the learning space, if I'm honest.
Learning, yeah.
Yeah, but the TikTok of learning and all this stuff and what we can learn from TikTok. Now, I put my hands up. I managed to spend about half an hour on TikTok and then wanted to tear my own eyes out because I felt like I was physically getting stupider for watching it. It's just a total mess, in my opinion. And I do not see a value in it from learning other than the fact that for a little while it became super popular and therefore it sounded great to be able to say we're going to take this from TikTok and bring it to learning because we're going to be the TikTok of learning, or we're going to, same as we used to have, I'm going to be the Netflix of learning, or I'm going to be the whatever.
Well, what was the first company that did what TikTok did? Trivia question. What was the first one? It's gone now. But the short video, the social media short video, what was it called? Give you a hint. It's plant-based.
No idea.
Vine. Twitter's Vine. The way that Twitter Vine worked was they were 6-second videos.
Okay.
And that was it. Same idea as TikTok and Instagram, the short stories. We call them stories now. Not Twine, but close. Vine. Yes. Okay. Suarez got. I mean, we're on the delay, so Suarez probably.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well done. So yeah, it was Vine that did it, and they were the first ones to do. They collapsed. They actually fell. Instagram took over. Facebook bought Instagram, and TikTok basically said Asia has 1 billion people who are already doing this, and that became popular.
Yeah.
It worked. But also the thing that changed was the UI. Vine sucked. One, you only had 6 seconds, and two, you couldn't do too much with it. But the ability to create things has gotten a lot better.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm so good at like social marketing stuff. I'm gonna be quiet.
You know, it was more from because I personally don't think TikTok marketing is gonna be very effective. The user base seems to be too young to buy things. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't really get how that would work. But from a learning perspective, it's that classic, and you know what, I think Joe Suarez is spot on. We've kind of discussed it before, I know. So L&D is always envious of popular things that naturally capture people's attention.
Because we don't know how to get people's attention in L&D.
Yeah. And Luke, I agree with you. The Netflix of learning it's the kind of phrase where someone says it, and in my head I'm like, I wanted to like you. I really did. But that's it. Dead to me now. Just leave. Because it just shows such a fundamental lack of understanding about what that platform is and what workplace learning is supposed to be. I've said it before, setting that as, because I've seen it in like business strategies. We're going to have a Netflix style LMS What? Full of shit no one wants to see and no one can navigate it easily. Great. That's what you want from an LMS. Because that's what
Yep.
Netflix is. Netflix is an awful UI. People use it because it has a lot of stuff on it. And you can
Mhm.
kind of get to what you want once you get to know it. But it's not
I
a
get
good UI.
pictures and trailers.
Exactly. Everything's got an advert strapped to the front of it. It's awful. It's it's YouTube, except you're paying for the pleasure of being advertised to. That's not good. That's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
It's plus the fact that your learning content will never be as good as the reason people go to Netflix. It's not because they love Netflix. It's because they want to watch X show about vampires having sex or whatever it might be that's big on Netflix that week. It's always top quality content. Of that you can be sure.
Don't get me started.
But that's why they go there. They don't go there for the love of Netflix. They go there
Yeah.
for a specific bit of content they want to see. Now, that does not exist in the L&D world. Your GDPR e-learning will never be as exciting as that show about vampires, or
Yeah.
the new, on a lighter note, the new version of He-Man, which is fantastic.
I didn't know that was a thing. I'll have to check it out.
Oh yeah, we're on the second season now. It's brilliant. It's really
Nice.
fantastic. Mostly because Mark Hamill is Skeletor.
I do know this then. Okay, I do know this.
Yeah,
That's
this
fair.
is fantastic.
But nobody goes to their, I think, bottom line, nobody goes to their LMS on a whim.
Exactly.
That's not a thing.
No.
Yes, there are people who like learning things. I like learning. I actually like artisan videos, but some people like learning things. But they don't. They like watching videos where they learn something, but that's not the same as going through an entire course where they are taught something, where there's going to be an interaction. I don't want to interact with Netflix. I don't even like when they are you still watching comes up. Like, you want me to what? No.
Yeah. This is exactly it. This is exactly it. Although that is a fantastic way of drawing the thing when someone randomly puts an interaction into a long ass time based e learning. It's basically the "Are you still there?" screen. But yeah, it's all this stuff, and I wanted to get someone else's opinion because I'm probably the wrong person to measure the value of TikTok in terms of learning. Now I'm a big fan of video based learning. I just don't think TikTok is that. And I don't think TikTok is because the whole thing with TikTok is being able to scroll through a lot very quickly.
Yes.
That's not good from a learning perspective. Because no one's really paying attention when they're doing that.
I think the word learning is wrong. Maybe that's where maybe if I change the word, then I'm a little bit better with TikTok not being on the list. Because learning is one thing. Learning is a process. Learning has a whole set of things associated with it. Absorbing, however, because I don't learn shit but it's my ability to absorb something where I can absorb a TikTok because I only need to spend 10 seconds doing it. And that's why you feel dumber at the end of it, is because you didn't learn anything that helped your day. You learned something that helped your 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Which is why you go through them over and over. And honestly, that's what makes it fun. I'm not saying that anybody who watches TikTok is terrible. My wife does. No. Just sometimes you want to shut your brain off. Yeah. And I want to absorb something. I want to have some sort of mental stimulus. But I want it to be done. TikTok's not the avenue for that.
Yeah, I think that this is kind of what I mean, is that it frustrates you from a learning perspective when people say it's shaping the future of learning and all these ridiculous phrases. As a purely entertainment thing, fine. That's absolutely cool. You don't always want to read a book or watch a documentary. Sometimes you want to watch, I don't know, a parrot that can speak and say certain things for 15 seconds or whatever. Great, that's awesome. It makes you smile. It's a positive thing in your life. Brilliant. But yeah, I think the chat seems to agree broadly that just from a learning perspective.
Like, why did I go to the room? Why did I go to the app? It's like VR. Why did I go to VR? Wasn't to learn something, usually. And if it was, it's because I was forced there. And that's not, I didn't go to VR because that's what I decided on. It's because that's what the company offered me and I had to learn it.
This is it. Yeah.
But I can't, I'm not going to absorb it the same way. especially if I've never done VR before. I'm too busy absorbing the VR experience.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Same with TikTok. I mean, TikTok, same way. I'm too busy absorbing the TikTok experience to absorb the crap that you actually said on it.
Yeah.
At least I can set the expectation in an LMS that we're going to go through a process. And if you don't want to go through it with me, well, I'm not going to mark this as complete.
Yeah.
You have to own up to this. TikTok doesn't give a shit if you finish.
Yeah. This is it. You could leave your phone on the side with TikTok playing. It doesn't care, right? It's just minutes of... It's, what is it? What do they call that? I can't remember. Screen minutes or whatever. Whereas, yeah, learning... It's a totally different engagement with the audience. And I feel like we set ourselves up for failure with that regard whenever we chase these things, these golden gooses. But it does sound very good. Which I
back
guess
to the very
is the whole
beginning.
point.
Back to the very beginning. It's shiny.
Absolutely.
It's just shiny.
So yeah, let's not dive back into that report too much unless there's anything you really want to look at.
I just want to laugh actually at one thing.
Go for it.
I really want to laugh at one thing just together as a group, which is if you feel free to bring it up, or if we put it earlier in the chat.
Yeah.
And that would be slide 22. Sales and customer experience. Top 5 surging sales and customer experience skills. Right there at the bottom, sales skills with 6% growth.
Let me bring that up.
Like, you would think that sales skills on the slide about sales and customer experience, you'd think that sales skills might do a little bit better than basically nothing.
Yeah.
And I feel like persuasion, negotiation, customer success management are sales skills. It's like computer skills. The same problem.
Yes. Yeah. I wish. Yeah, I wish they had done a bit more there. But actually, the one thing that I wanted to quickly touch on was cybersecurity. I was so pleased to see this section in existence because I am dull as fuck. And this is an area that I think L&D has done a woeful job at over the last couple of years, considering how important it is to businesses, because it's so often seen as this kind of slightly dull compliance topic. As opposed to really talking about what matters to people on a day-to-day basis, about, when we're talking about the dangers of plugging a device into a network, what's that all about? We always used to talk about people will buy into a need for compliance around a certain topic or following a rule that's a pain in the arse if they understand why it all makes sense. Well, cybersecurity is that topic. People disregard it because it's invisible broadly. Unless you work in IT, no one gives a crap.
It's not a problem until it's a problem.
Exactly, and most people
now, so I don't care.
Most people don't really understand it. That's the thing. And I suspect a lot of people sat here will, because that is the kind of audience these conversations tend to bring. But the average frontline person in the business doesn't really get what a virus versus spyware versus malware is. They don't get how clicking something in an email actually puts a virus on their computer. They don't get the difference between Wi-Fi and wired internet and whether it's a public or a private network. Not really. They don't get what a VPN really is. All these things, we just tell them you must do it, you must do it, you must do it for security.
Right.
People having a better understanding of these things would make them adhere to compliance. It doesn't seem useful, but just that slightly deeper understanding of how does the internet work? What is it and how do you connect to it? And how does that work in terms of your business information? That little bit of understanding would be enough to terrify most people into going, holy shit.
It's that stupid WIFM crap. I've learned that I hate WIFM. I hate what's in it for me. I've started to, I've really started to throw that away because you have to kind of try to spin that conversation to every audience. And if you can't do it, then what good are you? And that's cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is what's in it for me. And you have to kind of sell them on that idea. And they're like, well, I haven't had a problem with this before. So this isn't anything new. So I don't need it. Yeah. And we do this with L&D also, where we have to do like, what's in it for me? Like, here's why you should care about this kind of stuff. But we spend so much time trying to weave a story of why this is valuable to you that we don't actually try to inspire anybody more than tell you why you care. That's all. Again, that's more into the whole other conversation crap.
Yeah.
Like empathy. This is why you don't train on empathy. What's in it for you with empathy? Well, you don't come across as a dick. That's a matter of opinion.
Yeah,
It's all a
it
matter
is.
of opinion.
Yeah. This is it. Yeah. It's a funny, but I was just pleased to see it getting its own little section, and actually being treated as a topic worthy of some focus in the learning world. I was also just really pleased to see so many people actually doing certificates in cybersecurity. It just makes me a little bit happy.
I mean, it's a percentage, not a number. So that, those numbers could just be like 10 people, and now it's 12.
That is very true. But someone's doing it. That's the point. Someone is doing it. That makes me a little bit more happy. But yeah, I think it'll be an interesting space, and a space we have to focus more on as time goes by now. It's not going away. Home working's going to continue. I suspect the internet is probably around to stay at this point. It seems to be really catching on. And I think businesses are going to start embracing it over the coming years.
Right, it's paying my bills. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. This is it. It's it's just one of those things. I think we need to catch up a little bit. So on the whole, then,
like our next episode is going to be real fun, because naturally we're going to want to do a wrap up.
Absolutely.
Either on here or do your own thing, kind of what we did what you did last year with the L&D wrap up. And like I'm kind of replaying a bunch of episodes. I'm replaying stuff like this. I feel like I already know what my trend is, which is just disappointment by L&D professionals who've been in here longer than 2 years. I feel like that's my trend.
Yeah.
Like I kind of mentioned to you at kind of before we started about swinging the needle too far in the other direction, and I kind of feel that's what we did as L&D this year, because we really, you of course want to bring in practicality, and you want people to kind of see the actual use of things, but we also want to get people to respect and appreciate the value of learning and development in an organization. And I think we shoved that needle so far into find the value in learning and development that we started making up reasons for this to look valuable.
Yep.
And we skipped the practical part for the sake of the spin and the shiny and the, wow, you mean I can do this in this industry? Wow, this industry can do this thing for me with no metrics or anything attached to it, just a general idea. And I'm looking at stuff like this. I mean, I'm glad that soft skills has gone away, but I'm kind of mirroring it to what we've done in the LSD and what we've talked about and what we've seen bought and what we've seen updated in UI. And it's still shiny things that don't do much functional. Sorry, storyline. We liked the 360 thing, but now that we're 3 months in, kind of dumb still.
Still not done anything useful with it. It's a classic example of really technologically great to see it there. It's it wasn't like a huge leap forward. There were other tools that could do it, but it was good to see it there and that it just worked. But yeah, I've not used it. It's fine. But out of that whole thing, if I'm honest, that shift from soft skills to power skills, actually, I saw it and thought, oh god, it's just a rename, right? They've just literally slapped a new title on it to make it sound better. But actually breaking away from those ridiculous wishy-washy topics and focusing in on things people can actually be taught. It's simple, but we should totally be doing it.
I'm hoping that the number one trend in 2022 is results-driven learning.
Oh,
that's what I want. That's what I want.
See. Yeah.
I don't care about anything else. I don't care. I keep storyline as a garbage UX for all I care. I don't care. Let the industry come up with a metric, so that way they stop having all these companies and all these people who find a shiny thing, who find this feature creep, who find this we did all of this extra stuff in one button, regardless of if it's useful, and say, maybe we should figure if it's useful.
Mm-hmm.
It's been bugging me. Like, I mean, you and I have talked offline about stuff that I'm not going to share here, but kind of my current feelings in the industry and where we're at, and how it's just been this part I'll share. It's just been burning me out. Of like, man, I want to be good at this. I want to be good at what I do, but no matter where I go, I don't get to prove that what I do is good.
Yeah.
That sucks. That's so difficult. When learning disabilities become neurodiversity, couldn't believe the name change. Oh God, yeah, neurodiversity. Um, have you seen George Carlin's thing on euphemisms and what happened when we turned shell shock into post-traumatic stress disorder and how it just became a blasé thing now? That's where Luke, that's where I'm going with that. Fuzzy language.
You know what? It is really tricky because I think there's the constant balancing of the society's desire to be kind to people, which broadly exists, with the innate human thing of not, because we are not innately kind to each other. We are innately competitive. That's how we survive. But yeah, I just
We keep wanting to come up with a new term. Like I
Yeah.
literally did not.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen the term KPIs in a long time. I literally thought OKRs was the new version of it.
Yeah.
I really did because they look the same.
It wouldn't be uncommon, right? To just repackage the exact same thing. Yeah.
Oh, is this thing not working? Let's do the same thing, but with a rebrand.
Yeah.
Doesn't work, guys. Doesn't work.
Yeah, this is it. I think sometimes that desire to be kind is well-meaning, but it gets in the way of being clear. And sometimes what we need is to be clear, as opposed to just being kind. There's always a balancing act. But I think, the neurodivergent is a term that I don't have sufficiently broad understanding of to be able to be like, I think this or I think that. But it is a topic that inherently you hear it and think, I don't know exactly what that means. Whereas when someone says, or used to say, learning disability, you go, okay, so there is a broad kind of list that this could be, but I know I need to now ask more questions.
Yeah, at least you have to do that. So neurodivergence is just the big umbrella. It's a rewording of the umbrella that says there's something there. But you don't get to delve deep. Well, I mean, you can delve deeper if you know better. Like, oh, I have a learning disability. What's your learning disability? Oh, I have dyscalculia. Okay, now I know we have a numbers problem.
Yeah.
Now I feel now I can lead into that. Just say it. Like, what's so terrible about that? Yeah, I understand removing the word disability. Can we not call a spade, guys? If like my wife has dyscalculia. So numbers don't process the right way in her brain. They get squished. She just kind of sees them and they just jumble up. I'm sorry. That's a disability. It's not a bad thing. You are at a inherent disadvantage to do something that somebody else could do because they don't have it. That's a disability. Call it that. And if I would much rather call something a disability and be able to work with that, then ignore the word disability so that way I can pretend like it's fine. And there's not an issue to work around. I hate this. That's me turning on my social issue hat.
It's interesting because I would never have. I never really, until this conversation, placed things like dyscalculia, dyspraxia, dyslexia. I'm dyslexic and struggle with numbers. I didn't realise there was a specific name for that one. I suspect they may be connected. But there we go. I would not have said that with those things I was neurodivergent. I would have said I had a learning disability. Clearly, I would have been insulting myself. But they are. They get in the way. They create a challenge, right?
And it's
that's strange.
And we also try to find fun ways to make it sound like post-traumatic stress disorder. It's not just that we changed the word; we made it longer so we can sound smarter with it.
It does have that kind of ring to it, doesn't it?
Which, if you're illiterate,
done for the wrong reasons.
I don't know. That seems kind of cruel. But it's a TV trope, actually. It's a film trope. It's called Sesquipedalian loquaciousness. Fun fact, vocabulary, everyone. Sesquipedalian loquaciousness. The act of using words that sound significantly longer or that are significantly longer and sound smarter than they need to be, so that way your characters sound smarter than they actually are. Such as if I were to ask you a yes or no question and you chose the word affirmative. Stuff like that, but you purposely inject it into a script. So that way it sounds more important. It sounds more regal. It sounds more impactful that way. Sesquipedalian loquaciousness. Hospital shows do it all the time.
Yeah. But the thing
He
is,
had a myocardial infarction. He had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Stop. Dyspraxia, major social anxiety. I'm sure you could say it does, Luke.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's an odd one. I don't know. I think I almost like it less, actually. I think I would rather stick with learning disability on a purely personal level. I don't know. Yeah. It's such a sticky topic, and again, I'm someone who, if I'm honest, I don't care what it's called. So long as it's dealt with in the right way, that's literally all I care about.
Like, I think you have to think about why did the word come up to begin with?
Yeah.
If I'm trying to make, if I'm one of those, if I'm a narcissist who's trying to, make myself feel better and try to put myself on some pedestal, then yeah, maybe I use the word neurodivergent. But if I'm trying to explain why I'm struggling to comprehend something, and I want the response to be, can you help me? I would much rather say, I've got a learning disability. I struggle with social anxiety. I struggle with words and letters. I struggle with numbers. I would rather have a term that very clearly leads toward a solution than something that you can call whatever the hell you want. Again, it's a very personal topic for me, especially somebody my age in this country. I don't like that we dodge issues by trying to make them sound smart so they're not a problem anymore.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. If someone wanted to use whatever term, whether it's neurodivergent or whatever, because that term helped them, I don't know, either come to terms with what they're dealing with or whatever, it's fine. It's no issue at all. But I do think it is as a learning professional, if I was told, oh, someone in this cohort, or we've got an increasing level of, neurodivergence in our workforce, I genuinely wouldn't quite know what that meant. And maybe that is ignorance on my part, whatever, that's fine. Whereas if someone said, we have an increasing number of people with learning disabilities in the workforce, I would know what questions to ask there. What learning disabilities have we got? Where are they located within the business? And then I can find out what we need to do specifically, if beyond our current accessibility framework, to make sure we support those individuals. And because it's quite a direct piece of language, I would feel quite comfortable as a learning professional digging into it.
Yeah, it entices a call to action.
Exactly.
Just like mental health.
Yes.
Like I find it so bizarre that the stigma around mental health is going away, yet we come up with bullshit words like neurodivergent. Like we used to just say, "Oh, I'm struggling." Now I'm actually struggling with mental health. Now I get to say I'm struggling with mental health because I am encouraged to resolve it.
Yeah.
And we're getting better at that. It's literally a slide on the thing.
Yeah.
And then here comes neurodivergent that just throws the needle in the other direction. Let's not call something what it is. Just call it what it is, guys. Allow ourselves to get better by saying we need to get better.
Or not even that. I guess this is the one element that I can see. For instance, there is no way that I will ever stop being dyslexic, for instance. It's merely something that I have to just deal with. It's just one of those things. No, Luke, don't apologize. I think this is really interesting. Because from a learning perspective, I think one of the most challenging things, going right back to the start of my career, was when I would be told there's someone as a face-to-face trainer especially, there is someone in this group with a learning disability. And my big thing there was being able to say, what is it? What does that mean? What do I need to do to cater for this person and ensure they are supported without detracting from the learning of everyone else in the room?
Exactly. It's like special needs, right? Special needs, a blanket term that means nothing, that gives you nowhere to go.
This is it. I would much, and you know what? Even then, I would rather than it being there is someone with a learning disability, I'd rather someone said there is someone in this room who is dyslexic. There is someone in this room who is
Oh,
autistic. There is someone in this room who is whatever it may be. Tell me
yeah,
specifically so I know what that person needs. What I
yeah. I
don't
don't want
need is a umbrella. The umbrella term does not actually help me as a learning professional. Now I
Yeah,
think
and I
that's
get
the
the
important point. Just sorry, I will hand over to you
no,
in a second. I realise I'm just
no, go.
going on, but I feel like that's the important point. There is I'm looking at this purely from a as a learning professional. I need the
Mhm.
detail, not the umbrella. I do, however, appreciate the fact that for those who, like for me, being dyslexic and struggling with numbers does not on a day-to-day basis affect me in a way that really impacts my what anyone sees or how I interact with people. It doesn't, it's got to the point where it doesn't have that much impact. That's not the case for everyone, and
Mhm.
that for those who it is a major part of their daily life and does shape their every interaction, let's say, they perhaps would be more inclined to an umbrella term. I don't know. I'd be really interested if anyone does watch this or see this and has a view on that to
Yeah,
drop a comment in, because I would love to hear like the other side of this.
please do,
This is
because
a
the only
yeah.
other side that I know, which is where I was going to go, the only other side that I
Mm.
know is that by not delving in, you don't single out.
Mm-hmm.
That was the argument, right? That's why you don't say disability. That's why you don't, that's why you come up with a fuzzy language so that we don't say this person has a blank, so that way they become the target of ridicule or judgment or whatever amongst who else is in the room.
For
That's
sure.
where it all
Yeah.
started. At least that's how it started in school. So you say those things, and that way the door is open. We have somebody with special needs. Well, you don't know what they are, so you can't ridicule me for something specific because you might be wrong, and that's going to make you feel bad if you are. It's the robber problem. Is that if you leave your door open at night, unlocked, and somebody comes in and steals your stuff, what's the problem? Is the problem that you left your door open? No, it's the problem that robbers exist. That's the problem. And that's where we're at with this kind of fuzzy language. Is the problem that people have a learning disability? No, it's the problem that people who are ridiculing pieces of shit exist.
Yeah.
But don't screw up the ability to solve as a result of that. Like,
Yeah. Instead, manage the negative behavior. Don't
yeah, manage the
curtail
negative
the
behavior.
ability to improve things. Yeah.
Don't put those who are the actual victims or the ones actually struggling at a disadvantage because you don't
Mm.
want to deal with the real problem.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's such a sticky topic. And I
So, and
feel like it's part of the accessibility discussion that we do not discuss in L&D. Accessibility is kept very high level. And I'd only
Mhm.
really just thought about this. Like, there are some very good guides on it and everything. And, like, for instance, I still think Susie Miller's stuff for me is the definitive guide as a modern ID on how to implement accessibility in a reasonable and effective way. However, even that does not go into if someone has X, they need this. If someone has Y, they need that.
Yes,
And I
we have
feel
closed
like,
captioning. We flipped players so that way there's a dark mode. Like
yeah,
basic things. That's a new one from Storyline.
yeah.
Cool, good.
I would
Little thing.
love to see far more direct advice in the industry around this is how to help. Like, with things like dyslexia, actually, there's quite a lot. But
Mm.
there's very little in how to help a lot of other people with, I would say, more obviously impactful um, issues or
I've got a good one.
challenges.
Oh, I
Yeah.
gotta flick at the. Oh, I gotta flick at the camera. I hate doing that. I have to flick at the camera. Sorry, everybody. I've got a good one that's never
Mhm.
covered ever, ever, ever in the history of ever. That no production software has created anything for. No video editing software has created anything for. Nobody's created anything for, and it's a big problem. Color blindness.
Mm.
Nobody's touched it. I've there are resources out there. I had to go when I develop resources for things. I actually go to sites because you can put in a color palette onto some of these sites
Mhm.
where you can see the different variations of color
Yes.
blindness.
Yeah.
Like the red, greens, the yellow, blues, stuff like that, and see how your content will look
Yeah.
in that. Like I know color blindness is never really seen as a disability. It's just not because it's just not. I don't entirely know why. I would consider it as the same, but it's also kind of I guess an inconvenience. But I would like to see from the purpose of accessibility, hey, storyline, can I preview this as if I had this,
That's
this
cool.
degree of colorblindness? So that
That
way
would
I
be
know if
awesome.
my buttons are blending too much in the background.
Hmm.
You want to talk about a feature that we've been talking for months? Give me that. Give me
Yeah,
that one.
that would be
Never
cool.
discussed.
I mean, I
Never
guess we
talked
see
about.
it in the discussions around kind of contrast and stuff, but not specific. And that
Yeah.
would be
I
a
mean, if you
really
have a bright
interesting
red and a
ability.
bright green, if
Yeah.
you have a bright red and bright green, it doesn't matter that they're very different. They're going to be the
No, this
same
is true.
variation of gray
Hmm.
to somebody who's colorblind.
No, that's a really good point, actually. Yeah. I think that it's a kind of a accessibility kind of remains a weird area though. Like lots of tools do support elements of it,
Mhm.
but I wouldn't say I've yet to see any tool that has really gone accessibility. That is core and important functionality. It's
Yeah.
always good news. We've made this more accessible.
Right. Like Storyline's Dark Player from like 2 months ago. Like,
Exactly.
really?
This is
2 months?
it.
Or not
Hey,
Storylines.
this month LinkedIn launched the Dark Player. Or last
Yeah,
month,
LinkedIn
whenever
did
it
Dark.
was. And they made a great big thing of it. And you kind of think, yeah, finally, I guess.
I
Um,
personally like dark mode. I wish that
I
they would
love it.
take. I wish that they would do like take out blue. Give me a take out blue mode.
Was it dark mode's my default for everything. So
Yeah,
much better, so much
I use that.
easier on the eyes. But there you
Sure.
go. Luke's got let's create a web browser plugin when previewing our e-learning for colorblindness. Oh,
Hey, I'm gonna
we
do you one better, Luke. I'll take you even further. Create an entire company that you can very quickly check your learning content for accessibility things like dyscalculia, dyslexia,
mm,
color blindness, CC. Make sure that you're compliant for closed captioning.
God,
Put
if you
all of that together.
just where you could just upload the SCORM file and it just checks it for you and spits out like a report page. Wouldn't
Yeah,
that be amazing?
man, you would get especially. Oh, I'm gonna turn this real bad real fast, but especially if D&I is such a big thing, if that's rocking 266%, what a better way to show that than showing that you are also being diverse and inclusive for those who have learning disabilities. You can build a whole business off of it.
God, that's. Okay. Do you know what? Recently, I've been talking to people about wouldn't it be great if we had the ability to develop this stuff ourselves and be able to create, for instance, just a web platform. For
Mhm.
this one, for example, upload your SCORM file. Half an hour later, all automated, all working.
Mhm.
You get a report that says this is this is what your accessibility situation looks like.
Mhm.
Saying that, I've also wouldn't it be great if we could have a simple one-click upload HTML, CSS, and JavaScript package and SCORM it, create a SCORM package out of it. Because then
Mhm.
obviously you could design something on Webflow, for instance, or any other web developer, or just
Mhm.
write HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and quickly SCORM it. Whereas manually SCORMing at the minute is painful. Let's put it that way. It's very painful.
But I mean, that's stuff that I would even use. I would even use something like that beyond the shiny things
Mm,
because we always talk about it, and I get surprised when I get color blindness issues.
yes.
I'm like, oh crap, I did in fact use like blue and yellow. Everything is muted for you. Shoot, because I'm as a graphic designer, you stay in a range, you stay
Yeah.
in pastel, you stay in muted, you stay in bold. You stick there, and you don't really think about the colorblind problem.
Yeah.
But
It's
then you can launch that even further into things like translations because nobody
mhm.
does that. Nobody gives two craps about that in the right way.
And it's
There's a whole.
expensive, man. Like
It is expensive.
translations is expensive and long. And from a design perspective, the amount of different sizes that the same amount of text is suddenly going to take up.
Yeah, right.
Like recently getting something translated into German, and like a relatively small amount of text that wasn't even really a full screen's worth suddenly wouldn't fit on the screen. It was mad. It required a complete redesign of an interaction. And that's huge. Anything like tools that could make all that stuff easier. I feel like that's what we're missing as an industry. We've constantly got more authoring tools coming out. What we actually need is small supportive utilities to help us take what we've got and make it better, rather than allowing us to just make more.
It's like the Adobe plugins.
Yes,
give us some of that for some learning
exactly.
things.
Oh,
Gotta be killer. Gotta be great.
If Captivate could do one thing in their new version, right? Community plugins. That would be a game changer. Like XD has.
Man. Give me motion graphics. Give me masking. Give me some cool masking graphics. And matte graphics. So that way I don't have to come up with the creative ways to hide things on the screen. Oh, it'd be brilliant. We have something else to work.
From an accessibility point of view, Adobe XD has a lot of this stuff. So you can set up screens in Adobe XD and then use a plugin to say check for color contrast, check for kind of loads of different things, spacing, sizing, all this kind of thing, and it spits out that these are the problems with this page and for this reason, all that kind of thing. That would be amazing in something like Adobe Captivate to just have
it's like a spam checker.
Exactly,
it's like the same concept as a spam checker.
Exactly.
So hey, this thing, your text was really close to margins. Yep. This resolution is, things like resolution and all of that stuff, or this won't work on mobile, or this hides or just gets disrupted on mobile. Yada, all the things.
This is it. Yeah. Okay, so, guys, between us, who here knows how to make this happen?
Yeah, right. I'm sure. Because it'd be good features. So to transition, because we're at 2 hours, to transition, we're in code freeze territory, everybody. So Storyline has done nothing. They fixed some stupid things, including, I love that they fixed the quiz timer could speed up when taking quizzes. I didn't know that was possible. I don't know how.
Time should be pretty constant. That's kind of the point. I don't know.
That's a little wild. So no, we're in code freeze territory. So pretty much everybody is not really rolling out any new features because they know the holiday seasons. A lot of people are off. A lot of people off for extended periods of time. Camtasia has a bunch of bug fixes. Storyline has nothing but bug fixes right now. Also, I expect even worse to be in December. So it's been kind of a slow month. Expect that. Spend this time yelling at them and saying, "Can we get some accessibility features? Can we make sure that numbers are spaced out? Can we put letting, tracking, and kerning in?" That'd be great. Camtasia finally added letting and tracking. They still don't know what kerning is, because nobody knows what kerning is, which is when two letters that tend to connect are very close to each other, but it's actually their normal spacing, such as a T and an I, where the cross of the T connects the top of the I and it looks like an H.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. That's kerning.
It's the sort of stuff that only we care about.
Exactly. The capital letter W is a box where the next thing, where because of the angle, the next letter looks way spaced out. Kerning puts the next letter just a little bit under that angle, so it doesn't look stupid. Stuff. Graphic design stuff. So yeah, feature update. Not really one. Some stuff was fixed. Neat. Nothing big. Nothing major. December's gonna be worse. See in Q1.
It's going to be quiet for the tools, but there are lots of cool tools out there. My big shout out this month is for Chameleon Creator. I played around with that this month. That's what really is it? Chameleon Creator.
Chameleon Creator?
Chameleon, like the lizard.
Chameleon. Oh god.
Changes colour.
Please don't. That's called
yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised. Let me get a link. There we go. ChameleonCreator.com. Let me drop that in here. Yeah, Chameleon Creator. It's really freaking expensive, but it's also a small new tool, so of course it is. It's just kind of the way it works. But it's cloud based. It is a rapid authoring tool, but it is. I quite like it. It is, of all the most recent tools I've come across, the most website-esque. And for once, they just have examples of their courses available to take off their website. Like, this should not be as complicated as it is to find. They've got a whole section on, like, our free modules, where you can just take a series of different courses built in their tool.
Cool.
So you can just see it. But that is not a big ask, I never thought. But the number of new authoring platforms out there that you can't actually try out or just see what their finished thing looks like. Because it's all conceptual graphics and stuff.
All right.
But yeah, these guys, I spoke to them a bit on social as well, on LinkedIn. They seem to know their stuff about learning, which is quite nice to see. And weirdly uncommon in authoring tool companies.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I quite like it. I think it's cool. I think it's quite good fun. Well, when I was saying the pricing was high, what was the pricing? Remind me. Nope. So annually, you're looking at 900 US a year for an individual freelancer license. And there are some benefits to being like a business version of that. Like you get up to 3 authors and a load of additional features for $4,000 a year. That kind of thing.
Preview video frame rate, a spectacular amount of garbage.
What was that? Sorry?
The frame rate of their video on their page is awful. And maybe it's just me.
Is that the
one below? You scroll down.
Oh,
the authoring tool built to build beautiful learning content fast.
Yeah, it plays back all right for me.
All right, it's just my computer then.
I think.
Fine, I'll own that.
1080p speed normal. Doesn't give me a frame rate, but yeah. I don't know. It does upset me though when businesses do embed Vimeo videos or YouTube videos into their website. Just buy a better hosting package and host a fucking video.
There's a lot of Australia. Are these guys from Australia?
They are, yes. Yeah, okay. They're an Australian company. I say new. I'm not really sure how new they are. I don't think they're as new as I think they are. But it was new to me, and I think it's quite a cool tool. I quite like the illustrative style of their website as well. It is a little bit bland, maybe, but hey, it's an authoring tool. It all comes down to what the tool is.
Right.
And they do a free trial, which seems to be a dying thing. So go them. I like that. 14-day free trial
for kids. That's cool.
Yeah, no, they've got their example courses are all quite different. It's quite nice. It shows you a good set of examples of what you can do. So I think that's a cool tool. I think it's worth people looking at. I certainly think it beats the pants off Rise. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we're starting to look at Rise just because we want something to just quick out the door.
I would argue that Chameleon is far quicker to build in and get something decent at the end. Rise is, I would argue that Rise is probably quicker as long as you don't care about what it looks like. If you actually want to make Rise look good, I find it to be a painful process.
I have no arguments to that, because that is correct. That is the correct answer.
It's one of those things. But yeah, I guess as we approach the end of the show, a few quick updates from me. IDTX. Still going ahead in February. That's all shaping up well. We are still looking for some speakers, but I want to say a massive thank you to those who have booked tickets. We've got loads of people booking tickets, but because this time we have a better platform, we still have more, huzzah. But also thank you for the support in terms of people buying the IDTX Let's Get Practical t-shirts and joining the Patreon. Of the Let's Get Practical t-shirts, last week we crossed 300 having been sold.
Oh my god, congratulations. That's amazing.
This is awesome. We are coming very close to the point where IDTX 2 will actually break even. It will not actually cost me money from the business.
That's great.
So this is amazing, but it is all down to people's support. So thank you, everyone.
I gotta buy one. I will buy one. I'm
They
a
are.
little poor right now, but I will buy one.
But yeah, then they are nice t-shirts, I've got to say. They will be changing soon, though, because you've had a few problems with Teespring itself in terms of print quality. Like, they're really cool in terms of their customer service. Like, if you've got an issue, you contact them. Please don't just go, oh, well, never mind. I just contact them. You know, I've always been a big thing of, I don't care what the reason is you bought it. If you bought something and paid for it, you should get a good quality product. So if you haven't, contact them. They will sort it out. They're being great about it. But that's not really what I want. I would rather there just not be a problem. So we're currently investigating whether or not it's possible to actually move to a model where we basically do it ourselves. And we work on a pre-order, then a print run, and a send-out kind of approach.
Makes sense.
But on that, when we do that as well, if we were to do that, we want to do products that people are actually going to find useful, not just a kind of t-shirt based approach. So do get your ideas in. And finally, there's going to be another live stream next week. Not an IDT update, but a stream for Mind. So Mind is a mental health charity here in the UK. They've got a big campaign at the moment for anyone who streams anything online to stream for a set amount of time and raise money for them. So next Friday from 5:30, I'll be streaming for 5 hours. And there's a post about that somewhere, because there is a reason it's 5 hours. I just can't remember what it is. Let me find out for you now. It's 5 hours because 1 in 5 children with a mental health problem wait for 6 months to see a specialist, which is not really good enough.
No.
It's also the sad case that 1 in 5 people with a mental 1 in 15 people with a mental health condition will try and commit suicide this year. Which 1 in 15 people, we all know more than 15 people. That is a lot of people. So yeah, we're on there for 5 hours. So do come along, and more importantly, give me your money. But no, it's not quite as cold as that. So far, sorry,
you're gonna give it to them though. So
absolutely. So there is it's not, I don't want your money directly. There is a site that I'm going to post a link in a second where you can get involved. One thing I will be doing on that stream is building a computer. Because I need to build one for my wife. So I figure we'll stream that. Why not? Thus you'll notice a big black arm behind me as I've started to assemble an overhead camera so you can see the PC gubbins going together.
Mine's been there the whole time.
That's it. That's it. And yeah, so there's that going on, and that will only take an hour and a half, 2 hours. So beyond that, please do get your ideas on what you'd like to see. Luke, have an awesome weekend as well. I know it's getting late, so we're going to start losing people.
I want to give a great shout out, a wonderful shout out to iSpringSolutions.com for again trying to bullshit the L&D world into thinking that they are the hottest stuff since sliced bread, as they have last month put out their 19 best learning and development tools, and in top 3 is themselves, because of course,
oh come on,
Storyline 3 and then Captivate, making sure that the pedestal is so far away from the rest of the pack, according to that article, that iSpring is the glory. I will always call out BS marketing crap, and I was looking at iSpring like last year randomly, and I continue to loathe this company with a passion of 1,000 suns because of how much they try to bullshit you.
Do you know what annoys me? Their tool is not dreadful. Like, it's not amazing, but it's perfectly functional, and it is a lot cheaper than Storyline. So why not just say that? Like, that is a market.
Because I didn't necessarily have a cool tool this time, so I figured I'd go off of one of my most absolute hated, which is not even the tool itself. It's that the company's garbage business practices are garbage, and I hate them.
That upsets me, because I've got their tool. I occasionally use it when I don't want to piss about. To be honest, when I don't want the complexity of storyline, I go for that. Or
So
when a client
frustrating.
wants it. And if a client doesn't want to spend enough for storyline, it's one of the things I suggest. Maybe not anymore, because that's dreadful.
So
Ah,
frustrating.
never mind. Well,
Anyway.
on that uplifting note, yeah, hopefully I'll see some of you next week on Friday. We'll don't have to join for 5 hours, but it'll be a laugh. There will be beer, obviously. We'll build a
Heck
computer.
yeah.
We'll have a chat. I'll have plenty of work to do. Who knows? Maybe I'll just work on stream for a bit. Um, but yeah, do get involved, and if you can support in any way, it's a super good cause. It's not something I do very often, is charity related stuff, but mental health charities like mine, certainly in the UK, and I'm sure everywhere, in fairness, need a lot of support right now because they're sure as hell not getting it from governments,
For sure.
and certainly not as much as they need. So anything we can do to help would be good, and an actual contribution as opposed to a training course about these things which does nothing.
We can't train you to be charitable.
As it
Training
turns out,
on being
no, we
charitable.
also can't train people out of having a mental health condition, which is a discussion I had to have with someone this week.
What is the alternative to storyline? Man, that's so hard. Parisa. I hope I said your name right. Because you can go into Evolve space.
Mhm.
We know Captivate's about to do something new, so be on the
Mhm.
lookout for them. Again, all the issues that we have with storyline is it my thing, because I don't recognize your name, so I'll give the spiel as if you haven't heard it before from another one. My biggest struggle with storyline is it forces you to take something simple and overcomplicate it to the point of insanity because the UX is awful. Even for basic things. That's why I struggle with storyline. So I actually prefer doing little things. Like I actually prefer Camtasia if I can make a video happen than anything storyline related because I can just say I want you to just click a button and then you go somewhere and do something. I don't have to have 50 other things happen as a result of that. I know that Tom is a big fan of, Evolve and kind of those adapt technologies. That is his baby. Neither of us like Captivate. But we also know that Captivate is doing something. They are about to unleash something.
Do you know what? It's one of those things where I am desperately hoping to be so impressed that I have to switch back to Captivate.
Same.
I
Same.
want that to happen. The honest answer right now is that if you want to create specifically slide-based, custom-designed e-learning, it's Captivate or it's Storyline. Those are the two tools. And if I had to use one today, I would take Storyline because Captivate just makes me cry when I look at it.
It's really bad.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the alternatives should be about why do we default to slide-based e-learning?
You can
And yeah,
still make the
PowerPoint.
PowerPoints.
Yeah, there is, and I think it's a tool that gets overlooked in that it may not have all of the
Bells and whistles.
yeah, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles. For instance, it's not really great for building like you can't build a Street Fighter style platform game, which you can in theory do in Storyline. In fact, it's something we spent a lot of time doing recently. However, is that valuable time spent? I don't know. I do know, but I'm billing for it, so I'm not going to say. It's cool. One way or another, it's cool. It's a nice addition. It actually does add value in the context of that particular thing. But that's what PowerPoint can't do. However, how often is that actually necessary is the question, right?
Right.
So yeah, I'd agree. PowerPoint is a perfectly good tool so long as you're happy with the inherent limitations versus a Storyline or a Captivate. I always step away slightly from I'm not sure where it got popularised, but I dislike it. The idea that these tools are PowerPoint on crack. I know that Storyline did steal the PowerPoint look and feel very closely, but they are different tools. Like that level of functionality jump, the level of planning required is different. However, However, I do think PowerPoint can still create good stuff. I would love to see a third party, other than kind of Storyline Captivate, join that fight. On the flip side, I kind of want to see slide-based learning decline a little bit.
Yeah.
I certainly don't think it should be the default anymore.
Agreed.
I think the kind of web style learning really should be not the default position, but it should certainly be more plentiful than it is.
Please have a seat at the table.
Yeah, this is it. And Rise sure as heck isn't the answer. But I feel like
No.
tools like Evolve, Adapt, Chameleon Creator is an example of a rapid authoring version. You know, these tools they're creating something that's much more like the world of the internet today, as opposed to the world of the internet circa 1999, which to me is where slide-based screens come from. Because that's what the world of the web was, right? It was these single screen pages where you could view them in, one clicks and all this kind of thing. That's not the world we live in anymore. It's not what people are used to seeing.
Buttons were hot shit anyway. It's like,
Exactly.
next buttons, star wipe animations. Don't get me started.
Yeah, this is it. And so much of the slide-based functionality is focused on keeping those old things alive rather than creating new stuff. And you only got to look at the number of animations from... I mean, PowerPoint has too many animations in it, full stop. Fade, wipe, slide in. Leave the rest alone.
Peer.
That's it.
I need a peer. Just give me a peer also.
Okay, fair enough.
So, short answer for you. If you're looking at slide based, which we want to get away from, Storyline still is kind of your absolute best, unfortunately. But we want something to come in and steal away from that. On top of that, we would love to get away from the slide based learning. We would love a tool that not only makes that not just easy to create, but easy to comprehend from both an ID perspective as well as a learner perspective. That's something that is not great right now. Even trying to explain the concept of RISE and how that's just a different way to organize training is difficult. Because I don't even know why. It's just difficult. We're so used to everything that I want is going to be on the screen and then I hit next. What's this scroll down stuff? What do you mean that I can have 3 different sections show up at once? What do you mean that I can, what do you mean that I can have a module and a lesson in a course, but it's also it's not even dynamically populated anymore. That's not something RISE does very well. Never mind. I'll pull back on that.
But on that exact point, this is why I don't understand why the move hasn't happened. Adapt is free and open source. There is no longer the what tool do we use argument from the ID world. The ID world is just clinging to what it knows. And maybe not everyone sat here, but broadly speaking, we're refusing to make that jump as opposed to being unable to make that jump. You turn around to your business and say, I would like to move us to an authoring tool that is significantly cheaper, if not free, that we can edit as we go and that is going to get continual community support and updates. Okay, how soon can you do it? Versus, I would like to spend £1,200 a year per user for Storyline to build glorified PowerPoint presentations. It's... I would argue you want both tools, but you don't have to spend lots of money to get best-in-class learning. Best-in-class learning has really very little relation to how much money you spend on the tool to build it in. And that's always been my argument for Adapt. Free, open source, just as powerful as any other authoring tool in the world. Therefore, why is it not the most popular authoring tool on the planet?
Well, because a recruiter can't Google things that instructional designers use and see Evolve in the top 5 spots.
Adapt. Evolve's not free. But yeah, Adapt certainly. And Evolve's the same. Oh, I'm seeing Evolve more, which makes me happy.
Good. Let's push it on it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, go forth. Install Adapt. Do it tonight. There's a guide on the channel. Yeah, so guys, thank you all so much for joining us to this evening. It's been a pleasure. We are drawing very close to the end of the year. There's a video landing every day in December, by the way, on the channel. So we've got some cool stuff coming.
Heck yeah, that's amazing.
Lots of bits and bobs that might be useful to some of you, or I'll have fun anyway. But yeah, so if you want to see anything particular on the channel, give me a shout. We'll be back at the end of December to do our final ID update of the year, which is weird. It's been a whole year.
We did a whole, not just the end of the year, because we could start in September and it's still the end of the year, but actually a whole year's worth.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's been a fun ride.
One of those rare projects. We're going to do this once a month, and we actually did.
I know. Training is Blank lasted 3 months, and I stopped making content.
It's helpful to have another person, right?
It really is, because then we kind of motivate each other.
And not have to edit the content after the fact. That helps too. I'm not going to lie.
Not even for my Decks and Drafts channels. Like, I don't want to edit this. I did a whole thing where I explained rules, and I was like, I don't even want to do graphics for it. I'm just going to put it out there. You'll figure it out. I made a document.
Absolutely. Hey,
Click
why
link.
not? 100%. But yeah, on that note, quick shout out. Joey's channel hit 300 subscribers, which is awesome.
Yeah. All in a perfect game. Decks and Drafts, if any of you are into card games and beer, join me over there. Specifically, it's card games. It's a lot less beer. I just drink beer while I talk card games. But yeah, I'm super excited about 300. You are nearing 6, sir, at 580.
We are nearly there. We are nearly there. It's funny. We hit 584 last week, and then we lost 5 subscribers, and then gained 1 today.
Nice.
I'm not sure what I did in that week to lose 5 subscribers. We didn't publish any content.
That happened. Like, I am at 302, but I didn't say anything until 301.
Yeah.
Because there's always somebody that knocks you down.
Absolutely. That's it. But yeah, anyway, we'll go. It's like 10:30. We're coming up on it. It's late. Have an amazing, or here anyway, I know it's earlier for other people. Have an amazing weekend, everyone. Have a lovely evening. And if not before, we shall see you next month.
Boom. Happy holiday season if we don't see you before then.
There's only one place for the breaking news in the world of instructional design. The ID Update with Tom and Joe. All the news you never knew you never needed. Only on IDT.